Hi guys, Bobby here from Peak Performance Academy, and today's Coach's Corner I want to speak about nutrition and trying to make it as simple as possible for people when they're trying to lose weight, and maybe a little understanding on what macros are and where they fit into your diet basically. So when you look at your diet and you're looking to lose weight, the first thing you need to think about is, okay, how many calories am I consuming? Now you can use something like MyFitnessPal and start to input your foods that you eat on a daily basis. So you might start off with your breakfast and input some eggs or whatever you're eating for breakfast, oats or cereal or whatever. And you might scan the box and you might put in all the meals and all the stuff that you eat for the day. When you do that, it'll give you an approximate calorie figure you're taking in for the day. Then you can go and you can say to yourself, okay, I have a rough idea how many calories I'm taking in, so the next thing I need to do to lose weight is I need to figure out my base metabolic rate. So there's loads of calculators online that you can go, and you're looking for TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. You put in your details, height, weight, all that kind of stuff, age, and it will give you a rough approximate total daily energy expenditure. So from there you will look to create a deficit. So to make it nice and simple, if you said to yourself, okay, say it calculated my total daily energy expenditure at 2,000 calories, I'm going to, and you looked at MyFitnessPal and what you entered, it will then, you can see how many calories you're actually consuming at the moment, and you'll know if you're in a surplus of calories. If you're consuming the same calories as what the calculation was, you're going to maintain weight roughly. So that's to give you kind of a base figure of how to figure this out yourself. And the next thing you need to do then, so I want to lose weight, the most important thing for you then is to create a calorie deficit. So what you're going to do is eat less than basically is coming in off this calculation. And that's a starting point for you, and I would recommend you do that for about 2 weeks and just see how your body weight reacts to what you've just done. So it's not that stressful. You continue eating what you're eating, and then you start to maybe just knock the proportions down and then create that calorie deficit. We'll say if you started off with a calorie deficit of 300 calories and see from there how your body weight reacts. So the way you need to look at it then, so if you are used to using MyFitnessPal, it's a great way to track food, because the one thing I find about it is it's a great educator. So it really educates you on food and the energy that's within food, which is calories, the amount of energy that's within that food that's going into your body. And remember, our body's going to utilize calories in two ways. It's either going to store them or use them. So for a lot of people that are overweight or trying to lose weight, they would have stored a lot of calories. So they have a lot of stored body fat. So that's the objective of creating that calorie deficit, to try to knock off a bit of that body fat. Now, we won't talk about training and stuff like that, because obviously you have to have a training plan. You need to move more and all that kind of stuff. We kind of make it simplified for you for your nutrition. So what you need to do is set your protein figure first. So protein is really important because it's very satiating. It has a thermic effect of feeding, so your body burns calories breaking protein down, and it is most important for muscle repair and for literally building blocks of muscle within the body. And the more lean tissue we have, the more metabolic we are, the more we'll utilize calories better. So when we look at that, so we set our protein for females, I would normally say between 1.6 and 2 grams per kilo, and for males from 2 grams per kilo to 2.5. That's a very, very that's roughly the way we would work here at Peak Performance Academy, to give you a rough idea. So 1.6 to 2 grams per kilo for a female, and 2 grams to 2.5 for a male. So if you're, say for instance, a female weighing 50 kilos, you would set your calorie figure for protein, or your grams for protein, somewhere between 60 grams to 100 grams. So somewhere around that. The next thing you need to do, so the first thing you do is you set your protein, and the next thing you do then is you're going to set your carbohydrates and fats. Now, some people are fast oxidizers, some people are slow oxidizers. That's the way the body will utilize carbohydrates as an energy source. So we need to figure out where we are on that scale. So again, you could look at it in terms of how, when I eat carbohydrates, how do I feel? When I eat higher fats, how do I feel? And then you can see where you lie. For most people, they're going to fall in between, somewhere in the middle. So 70% of people are going to be utilizing a little bit more carbohydrate than fat. So I would normally say to you to set your carbohydrate intake between 40 and 60% of your total calories, and that's your total calories after you equate for protein. So remember, we said we're going to set our protein figure first. Say we set it at 100 grams of protein. There's 4 calories in every gram, so that's 400 calories off of our deficit figure. And we'd say if our deficit figure was 1700 calories, we would have 1300 calories left to play with, and 40 to 60% of that would be taken from carbohydrates, and the remaining would be fats. And that's the way you could set your diet up. So you get your little calculator, put in 1300 calories, put in 60%, whatever figure comes out there, that's your grams of carbohydrates, and then whatever is left over, you will put the rest towards fat, and start that way. So it gives you a great baseline to start with. You're in a deficit, you've split your macros, and you can do all this then and input this data into MyFitnessPal. How much protein, how many grams of carbohydrates, how many grams of fat. Measure your body weight for the first 2 weeks, see how you feel, look at your markers, how is sleep, how is your training performance, and obviously you increase your movement, so increase your steps, and then just see from there how your body's reacting, and then that's a great way to start your nutrition journey. Now, for a lot of people that sounds a little bit complicated because we're using a lot of figures and percentages and all that kind of stuff, so that's where a coach would come in massively, somebody to help you. Come to Peak Performance and we can help you work this out. But just that gives you an idea of how we start to do it. And the most important thing, I think, when you're doing something like that for a person is you educate them and tell them why you're doing it. So that's really important. So there's a few tips, guys. If you are sorting out your nutrition and trying to look at it yourself, sort out your protein first and work off the figures. 1.6 to 2 grams for women, 2 grams to 2.5 for men. Again, it's an approximate figure. And then the remaining should be split between carbohydrates and fat, maybe 60% towards carbs and 40% left towards fats. That's a great way to start. And as I say, if you have any questions on that and struggling how to figure all this out, please don't hesitate to ask. And what you'll find then is that you will be a lot more fuller. At the start now, be prepared for when you change your diet and you start to break up your macros like that, you could feel a little bit hungrier at the start, and you need to give that time. That first 2 weeks is really important. It's not going to be easy at the first 2 weeks, but it's going to be something, your settling in period, get all the hormones back into place, leptin and ghrelin. Your hunger hormone is your ghrelin, and your leptin is your hormone that tells your brain I'm full of enough food coming in. And remember, if you've been over consuming a lot of calories, leptin levels are going to have dropped because you're over consuming an awful lot of calories, and ghrelin then is going to be elevated as well. So you need to get that hormone balance in place, and this first 2 weeks of your diet is going to be really, really important. But I hope that's very, very helpful, guys. It gives you a general guideline on how to start and how to look at your nutrition. And as I say, MyFitnessPal is something I would recommend everybody to try to learn how to use. You don't have to be tracking on it all the time, but it's a great educator for telling you what actual energy is in food, and you'd be very surprised how calorie dense some foods are that you wouldn't think are. So guys, thanks for listening, and I hope that was informative. You'll find us on peakperformancekillarney.com, all our social media platforms, also on our YouTube channel Peak Performance Killarney, and our podcast Reach Your Peak Podcast. Thanks for listening.